monitor and bring those up as well, in case Josh does go down one of his fun rabbit holes that he loves to do with the crew. So, without further ado, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Josh.
Perfect. Thank you. Um, you hear me all right? All right, cool. Perfect. Let me share my screen. Hey everybody. Uh, I think too, just I'm gonna show you some stuff from a GCA perspective, like what I've been working on. Some of you may have seen this, some of you may have not. Um, Show you a couple of things with the Quickbase intelligence that have came out recently. Some of you, I'm sure, are subscribed to those features that are available. I think we're doing beta until April, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and then kind of show you sort of some hybridized methodologies that I've been embracing. I'm really interested too from a group perspective. Like I want to keep this conversational. I'm really interested in seeing what you all are doing with large language models in general, which ones you're using, right? If you're using it at all to kind of uplift or make QuickBase experience a little bit better for end users. So I'm going to show some vibe coding examples that I've done from a code page perspective. Um, yeah, and like I said, hopefully we have some healthy conversation around this and I'm interested to see if you guys are doing any of this in your space. All right, so first we'll go into the GCA. So for those that don't know, Governance Core Apps is what GCA stands for. We just got two new tables, groups and group access to the admin console sync up. I wonder if I should kind of ground you all on what that is for the folks that have never heard of the Governance Core Apps. Give me 1 second here. I'll pull up that slide deck. So I'm gonna
Maybe a
share.
brief recap.
Yeah. So here was the agenda. Yay.
Are you?
Um, oh, you don't see my screen. Sorry.
Yeah, don't
There we
see it.
go. Good now. I'm gonna take myself off video because I keep getting distracted by me staring up at another screen. Do you see that? Do you see the screen?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, so let me just open up one of the templates that I typically will share with customers. Give me 1 sec. So the governance core apps, honestly, it's just Quickbase managing Quickbase. Um, there are different versions that have been shared over the years. Some of the early pioneers probably got punished at the expense of me having new and improved, governance core apps. But what I'm going to show you today is the current version of the governance core app. So just to get us grounded real quick. So admin console sync hub, this is sort of the engine of the governance core apps. And there's plenty of applications that have been built over the years utilizing APIs, Ryan Flutter's app libraries out there. It'll allow you to get schema, get fields, get tables. But I try to put this sort of in a just a consumable fashion that people could easily digest. And honestly, my primary goal is just to get us grounded in some sort of methodology and foundation that, from a community perspective, we all could scale and grow. Because there's really some cool stuff that people have done around the fringes of this application, this suite of applications once it's installed. So, admin console sync hub, what that is this admin console sync hub. There are admin console connected tables with specific attributes. Applications, for instance, has a bunch of attributes like application name, open to the internet, so on and so forth. In the past, some people, what they've done is actually went out to, out to their admin console, exported this information, and then they synthesize it in a pivot table in Excel. So the other part here is realm insights. It's sort of where all the magic happens. That's what you see here. Um, and I'll go through that here momentarily. And then realm logger, it's just a souped up audit log. So this is an audit log that allows you to track, deletions, changes of specific fields, so on and so forth. So just to get you grounded in what the GCA is, three applications. This is the engine. Now we're going to showcase Realm Insights and what I've been working on over the past year, actually. So when we look at the Realm Insights here, most folks are probably acclimated to connected tables up. So I've got trustees here now, which are users associated with the service account. I have audit logs and then pipelines. As far as pipelines go, the channels, the tags, the apps they have access to, the tables and the fields that they have access to. And this actions table, it's a little unique, but it's the 89 actions that are captured in the audit log table. So, and I'll get to that here momentarily too. All right, so I'm gonna pause there for a second. Is there questions so far about any of this? I don't see the chat.
No questions so
Okay,
far.
perfect. All right, cool. All right, so in the past, probably had connected tables. This is actually what's out on the exchange. What I'd recommend short term is if you want to do installations or get an uplift to the next version, just reach out to me and I'll gladly assist. Um, you can access that by just clicking this yellow button here and scheduling time with me. It has access to my calendar. And this glossary of terms is in any version of the GCA that's out there in the world. Um, but with audit logs, I've added a lot of things in pipelines. These are the two primary things that I'm going to focus on today. So first, we'll start with pipelines. Let's just look at these are the 40 that have been, you know, triggered within this month, for instance. So I click on this 40 and I take a we'll look at one of these pipelines when it loads. So let's look at this first one. So if I view this, you'll see um, this pipeline now shows you this record shows you how many apps it touches, how many tables it touches, how many fields, how many tags are associated with, and how many channels. And these also show down here in these corresponding tabs if you wanted to view. But if you wanted to drill in, you could totally do that too. Um, if you're a super user, you have access to these, you could actually go to the specific field that's being affected by or part of that pipeline. And then it just shows you a handful of other pieces here. So successful runs, what this represents is within the last 24 hours, that's how many times this is ran. Um, so yeah, that there's a lot of information here that's not really easily accessible in one place, but now you have that potential. Um, so that's the pipeline side of things. Audit logs is a lot more involved. I was in Empower last year and I was like, oh, I'm going to release this within the next month, and totally failed on that. It took me a while to build out this aspect here. So one thing to point out with audit logs is when you look at the audit logs table itself, there are 89 total actions that are being captured in this audit logs table. That's the admin console connected table. And the reason for that is if we captured everything, it would be a lot. I think there's 125 total actions. If you go here to audit logs, and then on audit logs, you click on actions, which is a hyperlink here. It built an application that will allow you to see all the actions in one place. And obviously, like I said, there's 125. If I look at this view here, anything that's blue, these are actions that are captured within the admin console sync hub that I showed earlier. The ones that are black, they are not captured because if I tracked every action, your tables would max out in a handful of days based off the volume that your specific account's dealing with. So if you see ACC table, no or yes, these are all the actions in their glory, 125 total. But if you click ACC table, which what ACC table is admin console sync hub, right? That's what this table represents, ACC table. So if you click yes, you now have 89 total actions that are represented. And you'll also see that in what's called an actions table. If you click on this actions, and I'll show you how this functions here in a second. But these are the 89 actions that were showcased in that application that I just showed you. All right, so now if you look at those audit log items in Realm Insights, right? So we're back in Realm Insights. There's actually two series of dashboards. This one's a little bit lighter just because I didn't want the load time of the user experience to suffer at the expense of a high volume of data. Um, so I really got after last 2 weeks of actions that are captured within the audit logs table. So, there's create actions, update actions, delete actions. I try to get after CRUD. And we can just look up CRUD real quick and what that is, but create um CRUD. So what's CRUD when you're sick? So information. So it's create, read, update, and delete. So I got after the create, the read, and the delete actions that I could capture, right? Access didn't make the cut just because, like I said, it would create a huge amount of volume within the tables. So if you guys want to pull that information, you can with what's called the Get Audit Logs API, but I think that's an enterprise feature if I'm not mistaken. So
We do have
could
two
also,
questions
yeah,
here.
good. Yeah, let's go.
So Miss West said, so the pipelines, apps, and fields are for low code steps, right? I think the indexing reference
Yep.
to DIBDs and the FIDs in apt calls is not in place.
So I need to read that question. Or Wes, come off the mic and I'll glow.
Hey, can you hear me,
Yeah,
Josh?
I hear you. Yeah, yeah, of course.
Yeah, yeah. So, like if I use a make request or webhook step, and
Correct.
I'm creating a JSON body or even HTTP request or whatever, like
Yep.
that, none of that is read in the
No.
pipeline jobs to index it.
Nope.
Okay, all right,
Yeah,
cool.
there's no that's so awesome. Like to point out, there is no API available publicly to get this information. It all comes from that admin console connected table called pipelines. And if you really want to look under the hood, Wes, what I'm doing is, and you'll see this repeated over and over again with me kind of utilizing these tables. I take these comma separated values and make them individual records. And that starts to give you a lot more visibility into, oh, how many tags are associated with this? Well, there's three. But right now you're just looking at three values within a table, within a field. And what I like to do is break that into pipeline tags, right? Or if you look at app IDs, I'm breaking those into pipeline access. So now you can start to see, you know, that information sort of cascaded in a way that's gonna, it's a little bit more consumable and allows you to get more insights into the pipelines than just like, oh, it touches all of these tables that you see here. It's like, well, what am I going to do with that? So I've done the work for you. And this is where it gets a little bit more complex is the tables and fields. So I've parsed all those out too to make those pipeline tables and fields. So 4 tables plus the pipelines that's copying the records, Wes. Is that we good? Is that good?
That's interesting. I want to look more into what you just showed me.
Yep.
I'm also thinking about like if I have a third party integration, like let's say I'm calling ADP or
Mm-hmm.
Dropbox or whatever, right? And
Yep.
then receiving presumably a JSON response, and then making a subsequent call to post to Quickbase, using Jinja templating. Um, there's currently, I think there's no way unless we're actually evaluating the YAML of the pipeline job to figure out which database IDs and field IDs the job is using, that the pipeline job is using. And so,
Right.
yeah, I'm trying to figure out ways um, to increase visibility or
Yep. Yep.
transparency,
Yep.
in a tool like what you're showing us
Yep.
to pipelines that are not using, the GUI or the,
Yeah.
drag and drop low code,
Yeah.
data pills. So
Yeah, and ironically, I mean, this is really fresh and new, but I would strongly recommend like I've done this already and I was going to showcase it to you all, but I I've taken the I'm using Quickbase Actions to try to parse through YAML and tell me a story. So you can do that with large language model too, obviously, if you're going to hit your token limit. based off a large language, like, if you're going to hit your token limit with it, Quickbase Actions. But I'll show you guys that in here in a little bit, like how you can use Quickbase Actions to get a JSON response back and then utilize a vibe coded code page to synthesize that information and put it into individual records. So
That's
I
cool.
know that might be a little bit higher level than you guys want to go, but hey, we're all friends here. What's the other question?
There's Heather,
Yeah,
is the code to the custom filter field available in the app as well?
code to elaborate on that. Code to the custom.
Custom filter.
Yeah, it
Is
was on the actions table home report.
Yeah, here.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And
It's
yeah,
all
that's a
yours. It's all
cool
yours.
filter. Is that
Oh,
available in the
Heather.
exchange?
Yeah,
I
so
love it.
no, I'll set it up, but I'll show you how this works because it's very so let's just pull on that thread real quick, Heather. I obviously, it was mentioned earlier, I'm all about shiny objects. This is one that I'm pretty proud of. Um, so this actually runs your audit log experience for, and I'll just pull this up because this is another example of utilizing vibe coding to make killer rich text formula fields. But I've also been testing that logic with our Quickbase Intelligence, and it does a pretty good job of creating those same kind of cool formula, fields. Um, so if I go into this, let's just say I go into this pipeline access table. So in Realm Insights, if ever you see a white button, that white button just takes you somewhere else within this app, right? So in this situation, I'm in this application called Solution Central Roadmap. So if you look at audit log actions, these are all the actions that could potentially exist from that audit logs table against this application. Like, I would never in a million years have known how to build this. No, no lie. But I did, right? Like I built this with the help of a little buddy. I'm pretty partial to Claude. I like OpenAI also, and use Gemini for what it's worth. So I try to use those three in concert pretty often. But what I want to show you here is these data points above are based on the filters set in the actions table. So that's where this actions table comes into play. And I'll pull an application that has a little bit more data there that I've just been working actively in, which would be Realm Insights. And I'll show you how that filter works, Heather, just to give you clarity on how it functions. Because it's like, oh, that filter's cool. But it's like, I think what it does, it allows you to really filter a subset of data. Like, I don't think everybody and their brother wants to see every action associated with an application, but they may want to see the last month, for auditing purposes or whatever. So that's what that actions table affords you to do. Like that's what it gives you the capability to do. So if you look at this application, Realm Insights, and I'm on the audit logs tab here. So if I click on audit log actions, you see that I have field updates is one. So what drives that on the actions table is if I look at field updates as an action, I have one right here, right? So field update, it only is going to show me the last month of data. So let's say I click 1 year. I want to see the last year of field updates associated with that. So obviously that updates, right? And then now if I hit refresh on the screen, that field updates went from a 1 to hopefully more than that. Yeah, 1039. But what happened? Does that make sense, Heather? This
Oh
action's actually
yeah. It's
it,
driving what you're seeing on this report, on the app schema report. Gotcha.
exactly. And I do
Nice.
that, yeah, and all it is under the hood, I mean, getting a little bit more technical, but once again, if you have these applications in your realm, steal from them willingly. You know what I mean? Like steal the methodology that's utilized to make your own cool stuff. Um, if you look here, there's an applications is associated with audit logs, right? So inside of audit logs, there is it actually is the relationship between audit logs and actions. That was my bad. It's the between audit logs and actions that drives that checkbox. So I have a checkbox called days in the past, or days in the past is in audit logs, and the checkbox says if days in the past plus today equals blah blah blah, then show these records kind of deal. So, but yeah, you can geek out and like see that. But yeah, just schedule time with me, and I'd be more than happy to install these, and you can at least, if you don't want the GCA, at least you have the applications that you can steal from. Um, and what other questions do we have? Because I much more prefer conversation than
Yeah, there's one from Dwight.
yeah.
Speaking
What's up,
of,
Dwight?
yeah, I don't know if Dwight, if you want to come off mute and ask the question.
Hey, can you hear me?
Hey, yeah, of course. Long
All
time no
right.
hear. How are you?
I'm doing pretty all right.
Good.
So you mentioned the Quickbase intelligence.
Yes.
So for versioning of this solution, as we've talked about versioning for this before,
Yes.
how possible do you think it would be to have like an update script that you feed into the Quickbase intelligence to make the updates?
Yes. So love to see you empower and make that happen. So my challenge is exactly what you said. We don't really embrace schema injection for, and just to let the folks on the call know what the challenge is here, we really struggle with version control, right? So it's like, the Jims of the world or, Dwight or, Wes, you all been on these calls and you're like, oh my gosh, I've seen this before. What is this? Like, what version do I have? Whatever, if you have a version. And I want to be able to just click a button and deploy. And what Dwight's alluding to is maybe there's a way, maybe we can take the solution and do a diff, compare the two, the solution API, like the YAML, compare your current YAML to the YAML that I have, that's associated with this governance core apps, and then inject the difference into his application to lift it up to the current version. Is that about right, Dwight? Or no? Am I way off?
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm thinking is something similar to that where like I lost the solutions API because I'm on business, but something to where you could have that QBL from both apps, and even if you've made updates to your own, you could have the AI parse out, okay, what are the differences? Like what's new over here
Yep. Yep.
that's not in my app, and then
Yep.
be able to
Yep.
add that.
Yeah. Is it possible? I'm sure with smart people like you and Wes and Jim, I have not been able to crack that code quite yet. And I know it's going to become the bane of my existence because it's like, I got the newest version and, so and so's got the old version and they want to get lifted up. And it's like, yeah, just reach out to me and I'll help you manually do it. So yeah, Dwight, I hear you. And I'd be more than happy to work with you to try to figure it out because what I've also done is I'll go into Claude or I'll go into OpenAI and say, oh, it's blocked on this. That's fine. It's blocked on the hosting that or the web that I'm on. So I'll take YAML, for instance, and put it inside of here and tell it to tell me a story. Like what do you see in this application? So that YAML is starting to be fed into these large language models and they are having a better understanding of how Quickbase is constructed, right? So I don't think it's too far off base. And I have a diff tool that I'll show you, Dwight. I can get you the diff. I just don't know how to inject it in your current app and retain your data. That makes sense. That's the challenge that I'm facing. But the beauty of the GCA is most of this is data that can just be renewed with the next refresh. You know what I mean? Like the GCA is a little unique. It's not like a typical application, but um, you know, I want to use YAML to be compared to see if there's security issues, right? Like There's so much you guys are going to be able to do with YAML that I haven't even considered. But, tell me about like every app should really go through a YAML comparison tool or YAML security tool, and it just outputs to you with Quickbase Intelligence an action. It could load into each application because you have the list of uh, applications, and it could say, here's the security risk that I see in this app based on the YAML. Tell me about any security risk uh, you see uh, you see in this Quickbase app, whatever. You get it. And we'll let the machine think for a minute. And I'm sorry if this is going over people's heads and you guys are like, what the heck are y'all talking about? I mean, Dwight, we can pull up obviously whenever. I'd love to figure that out. What other questions we got?
I think there was a few comments. Hold
Uh-oh.
on. We gotta go up. What is it? Copy with taste. That came from Sam. I don't know what that means, but I don't know. Like, what does copy with taste mean? I'm not sure. Scrub your slug before pasting. That people want shirts. Maybe I don't know. That's okay.
Oh, that's hilarious. So account slugs. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. No, what was the other one though? This
Uh,
copy.
With taste?
Yeah.
I don't know. Sam, you wanna tell us what that means?
Yeah, I can come off mute and tell you. I just he was saying to steal things from the app. I just thought that was a very strong word. I've heard,
Oh,
copy paste, copy with taste. I've heard it said different ways.
Yeah, no, that's solid. Copy with taste. I could say that. Yeah, that's good. I
a more
mean,
elegant way.
yeah, that's all we do. That's what humans
Now,
are. We copy with taste.
now that I'm off mute, what'd you do for your rich text project here in ChatGPT? I see you have a project rich text formula fields.
Yeah, so I tool with making, I love to, so for instance, I've been working on creating let's say a second brain, right?
Hmm.
Where I mean, obviously Notebook LM's good and all that good stuff, but from a proprietary perspective, I've got to utilize the tools that are approved. So I've really got into making my project folders to just enhance my overall experience because I'm tired of feeding the model the same information over and over again. So I'll put documentation in there that just helps me to build rich text formula fields. But the funny thing about it is it's getting so good within, I mean, and this is only running haiku, I think 4.6 maybe, I can't remember. I can look up the exact version, but this is running Claude haiku. And it does a very good job of like building pretty good formulas. But I find myself going to Claude pretty often just because of the iteration piece. But that goal with that project folder was just to help the large language model understand. But as you all know, it understands more than I can help it understand at this point. I mean, they're getting pretty good. Um, is that make sense? I mean, whatever. I mean, that's what I do with that. I like making projects because I hate repeating myself. I ask myself questions actually. All the documentation I've created, I've made a project called, governance, questions, and I want to make an agent, a GPT for our organization so they can ask it versus me. Getting lazy, I guess.
No, that's smart. I want to do something like that as well.
Yeah, that's solid. Um,
Another question here from Robert.
yeah,
When is a good time to update the older version of the GCA?
yeah, we can do it, Rob. I think we were working with you actually, to talk about when. I'd say now is it's never going to get as complex as it was for audit logs, right? Like that was just a beatdown. Like for me, it was because it's related to so many things, right? Like, um, one of the things. So to answer your question, I would say now would be fine. Like if you're using groups, that's the next iteration that's going to come is group and group access. But those are easy to build because they're not entangled with everything. Um, so I would say now is fine, Rob. But that really just depends on what you're trying to get after. I just feel like pipelines, that's super valuable if you don't have that. Um,
Josh, since you've just sidelined over to pipelines, my
Yeah.
questions kind of got buried up in the top half of the
Yeah. Go ahead,
chat.
Laura. Go ahead.
Have you figured out a way to get the YAML out of pipelines into a record without having to copy and paste it?
So the whole YAML.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I let me show you this. I still paste it in my state, but Wes, like Dwight, can you all think of a way to put that whole payload in and output it to a record in its current state? Like I don't know of one.
I found a way.
How do you do it, Nicole?
I found a way.
She's going to say, it's proprietary. You got to pay me for the solution.
No.
No, I don't work for that company anymore.
Yeah.
I mean, no, so I was thinking of the same thing. I found the API that a user, you run it, it's in a button, it's per user, you push it and it grabs all of the pipeline YAMLs for that user. So, I mean, I figured it out on Saturday. And so it pulls it, it's on a document, and now we're working on parsing it, being able to parse it and put it into a file attachment.
Yeah, so
See,
I don't know.
So Ben, for your benefit, I submitted this as an AMA because this shouldn't be as complicated as it is. So,
Right.
you know, I did comment that Quickbase as a whole has done an amazing job of eliminating the lift and effort required to document pipelines and maintain them. I mean, it's all right when you got 2 or 3, but when you got 300-400, it's a whole different story. And everything else can sync to the sync tables, everything except the YAML, which is the most important thing. Outside of the ID, it's the most important thing that anybody really cares about. Because if something's broken and you have no idea when it last ran, it doesn't matter how good your activities list is if you don't know when to look for.
Yeah. So Laura, Nicole, what you've done, like I have no idea, right? Like there's so much hacky stuff.
Yeah.
There's so much that you can do now. There's things, Laura.
If you put this in a URL button that I put in the chat, and then you click it, it's like I said, it's per user. So, but then it does the whole access thing about it. So,
that's crazy. So
it's great. I love it. And that's kind of like, so what we're trying to do is we've got the new service accounts. So we're trying to transition the ownership of pipelines from the individual users and whatnots over to the service accounts. So we've got to load and just trying to identify, and that's where we kind of got to start too. So yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Amen.
Well, I think though that you guys are on something, right? So this is something I want to touch on just because this is this is using our AI actions, right? So I just pretty much wrote this request of like, hey, I want you to take all the YAML, and when you take said YAML, I want you to give me all the variables that I need to be replaced, right? So I know there is a pipeline YAML tool out there, but I'm trying to create. So what it's doing right now is it's calling to this pipeline call, and the output is JSON and update record, which is here. And then I put that inside of an application, which is where this is hosted, this code page. And then it returns to me and says, oh, here's all the variables that need to be replaced. Just fill them out, and then here's your updated, generate your final YAML. This is a perfect example. And I just want to be clear, like I made this with a large language model. I told it what I wanted to build, right? And it's using this, and it's also using our actions, Quickbase actions to do this. So I can't wait to see what people create. Like This took me, and I know there's still bugginess and you still need to work on it. That's with anything. But man, the beauty of this and bringing this stuff to life and from a UI perspective is just, it's next level. For me, I feel like a kid in a candy shop, truly. So, let me get back real quick to this. It really takes a quite a talent for me to get out of the rabbit holes that I dig. But here's the audit logs table itself, right? What I want to show you, and Wes, this one's for you. Additional audit log details. If you click this, this actually takes you to a whole new dashboard specific for audit logs, just because I didn't want the load times to make the homepage suffer. So here you'll see just some basic information, right? You can set your filter to say, I need to see the last month. But what I want to show you is this realm piece here. I made a couple of reports on the right-hand side of realm, and I've extracted the payload from here to be able to show you if any of these attributes are being changed and when and who by. So like this, I changed the settings for this user. Guest changed to false. Can't create apps, changed to false. And I'm just extracting it from here, but kind of putting it in, something that's a little bit more consumable. So Wes, I know that I thought you were looking at something like that, so I wanted to at least show you that. The other piece here too is if people are changing roles within an application, it shows you who changed the role for like group access or user access. So this person changed the role of this user from none to administrator. So you could actually create flags to be like, let me know anytime role 2 turns into administrator. And I kind of have a struggle a little bit with using a role name as an indicator for privilege. And what I mean by that is when you look at user access, there's a table called, or a field called, I'll just do a list all so I can show you. There's a field called, I think it's called permissions. Let me look here. Here we go. Yeah. App level permission. This I feel like is more important than a role name, because this shows you what privilege they have. And if you look up what the app level permission is, right? So, app level permissions in Quickbase, permissions. So I'm just going to be very general because I like to be a jerk. Yeah.
I'm
So
not
it's like,
muted.
what? Yeah. What would you like to do? So, what are the app level permissions? It's really, I have so much fun like building apps now with this. Like I build tables, I build fields, I put dummy data in. I just do it all through here. And I think the benefit of this versus a large language model is it has access to your infrastructure and your apps and based off of your role. So I think there's a huge play with a kind of a hybridized approach. So it's still permission control, blah, blah, blah. There's actually there's a definition of what these mean, and I don't see it there. Permissions, Quickbase. What did it say? Permission level? Let me see. App level permission. So app level permission. There's a chart that shows you this, and the reason I'm pointing this out is because I don't think that you want to just depend on the name of a role to determine what privilege somebody has in an application. So if you see these properties here, basic sharing, admin sharing, this is super powerful to be able to know what kind of role a person has without knowing the role ID. Now you can get roles with an API, but I think we should lean a little bit heavier on these permission roles than we do. Because I could call an administrator permission level. I could call an administrator, but what if I only give them like basic rights? So I think there's a mixture there. If that makes sense. Um, Questions? Anything? Come on. I'm better at doing those.
Well, I guess, I mean, we'll be talking about it at Empower, but one of the
Hmm.
things that we're doing here is actually utilizing the Insights app to also document our ecosystem. So from Power BI, what Power BI dashboards are connected to apps, um, and then all the way up to our ODS. What tables and fields are being pushed into ODS and tracking that, and we're utilizing that actual app for a whole entire usage of that. So it's like the foundation of it. And also, there's a lot that you can do with these. So you talk about notifications. I actually put notifications on the logger. That's so if something gets deleted, I get an email. It's just like this app was deleted or this user was deleted, and be able to kind of go down and track that app as well.
No, that's awesome. Yeah, and that was my whole goal, is to try to
Mhm.
socialize. Like, man, this could be so much stronger if we have the community around it, right? But the first thing is just getting aligned with like terminology.
Mhm.
Like, like because everybody, like, governance means so many different things to different people. Um, this is kind of for you, Heather, like earlier, like to set this application up, the GCA, it's a lot easier now for me to do with the introduction of code pages. Like, as you saw, I just copied, you know, I copied 3 applications, and then I would transfer them into your realm. And then all you do is fill out this form, and it builds all the pipelines for you. And then we just import them in. So I've got the build time down to 56 minutes at this point. If we had an API for pipelines, it would be a different story, but we don't as of. That's public, I should say. So, but yeah, anybody that wants to get this set up, I can totally help you do that pretty quickly, um, for whatever it's worth. But what I wanted to show you is this is all you would need is your IDs. We have to build an account slug and the user token. You paste that all in. And once again, this is a code page that I built through large language models. I mean, I think you're going to see this theme over and over again, if I'm not mistaken. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. But I think the beauty of Quickbase is that we already have this. Like, we have the database, we have the notification process, we've got reporting. Like, you don't have to go, if you go out to Cursor or like any of those, like Lovable, you still have to have a backend for these solutions. So I feel like it's like you're giving 10 quarters to your kid to go like play some pinball game, and the final level is like level 20. If you get to level 20, you win. Well, they get their 10 quarters, they get to like level 15, and you're like, oh, that's cool. You made it to level 15. It's like, well, I'm out of quarters. It's like, I don't know what to tell you. So I think a lot of slop is just being built personally. It's my theory, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see. Um, this is just a simple form I wanted to show you all that I built. It writes to here, but I was having like sales folks that wanted to do like GCA installs or have me talk about governance. So instead of having them, and this is going to lag on your all screen, but this was sort of my verification that you're a human. And then this form comes up, and they fill this information out, and it writes to a Quickbase table, right? And this request form, like, I prompted a large language model to help me build it. I told it the fields to map to, and it built it, right? Like, and then the other thing that I did is under the hood, if you look at my requests and you look at my notifications, I also use a large language model to make my notifications super like clean. So now I can just go to, I just take this code here. And this was actually the wrong notification because it just lets me know like, hey, this got added. But and I'll walk you through this whole process of the submission. But dude, you just take the source and you're like, go, dear large language model, help me out, make this better. And now your notifications is so much cleaner, right? Just just by a quick, just pasting that source code in and saying modify it, make it look good. Now, the uniqueness of this form that you saw here in the request is once you fill this out, so let's see, client email, let's say, and then J Miller. This affords them to, so just imagine you're filling out a submission form. It's like, okay, what do you want to do? I want to do governance, blah, blah, blah. What do you want your date to be? All this is going to write to Quickbase. And I know for the not so newbies, you guys are like, yeah, whatever. I've done this a million times. Submit request. Oh, and then there's even error handling in here too, right? Like to make sure that people fill out what they, now, this is the cool thing. So this request code here, they now have got a notification that says, hey, you've got a request code. And they also get it here. It says request code. And it says if you ever want to update information or track your request, use this request code, right? So if we go here and look at the request itself, I'll show you how this code works. So they're not logging in. They're not logging in to do any of this. They just fill this form out. It takes them like a minute to fill out. So it's easy. It's easy for them, right? So they click on, let's say, request tracking. They wouldn't click on this. They have it in their notification. You can put this code in. And you're like, I want to get the status of this. Oh, there's a status, right? So the key field is this generated code in the record. But then if you click update information with that code, you can actually edit the record, right? And edit that information and it updates that request table. So once again, vibe coded, if you will, with a large language model utilizing our code pages, but just that user experience is just so much slicker. So questions about that? None? That'd be crazy. Anything?
That does secure links code.
How do I get that? I really like I need that. And what you just all those notifications and the codes and giving step. Oh my goodness.
Right.
I need
So
that. Yep.
it wasn't a secure link. It was just a code where I've told myself if somebody gets this code, it's okay. It's not gonna break anything, right? So you have to think and take into consideration, overall like security. And what I typically do, Heather, is I'll actually build these code pages and then I'll say, hey, could you make sure these are secure? Because one thing that, you don't want to expose a user token. Like there are things that you want to make sure you're secure about. But I would ask the large language model, like, you guys should really try to just build a simple code page and say, I want to make a form. Here are the fields that I need to update. Here's the table. Here's the app ID. And it'll build it. It'll build it. And Rob, like, we can offline, I can, help you or whatnot. But, this is, I don't think this is going to go away. I think people are going to want to use a large language model of their choice to build things. And I do think that Quickbase AI, like AI intelligence and large language models that your companies have approved play nice together. I've shown a couple examples of that, but I'm not going to show you all the intelligence stuff outside of like, you guys have probably been on some of those calls. It seems like you guys are regulars to these things, but, yeah, Rob, I think you'd be surprised. Like, do you have a large language model that your company's approved? No, maybe so.
Main Copilot.
Okay, so Copilot.
Oh yeah, I have a
Yeah.
Copilot license.
Yeah, so that's what most companies do, right? Like Copilot sometimes, and that's OpenAI backbone, more or less. I don't know if you're on 5.2 or 5.3 at this point, but you could totally go into a page that you would want to make a form, like a subscription or something like that. And in the past, I had really socialized, with the release notes application that we had, for instance, we kind of went back and forth on maybe vibe coding that, right? And these release records, if you look at this information, as long as the large language model, Copilot can be, it's fine, will know what your field IDs are and what your table IDs, it'll help you to build. So let's just say these are release records, right? So if I'm in my app home and I go to, I'm just going to show you a code page that takes those release records and displays them in a format for an end user on their mobile device or whatnot. So you look at Quickbase release notes, and as it's loading, I'll show you this. So this is like a poor man's GitHub repository for all of you that, these are my branches. I got to new releases version 2F. I really like that. But this is as simple as, let's say I want to see all time. All right, cool. Here's all my features. Obviously I've got something here that's going on that I need to fix, but once again, that's talking to a large language model and fixing those things. But if I look down here, it sneak peeks. You see that this directly correlates with, if you look at this right here, this is a record. It says get products updated directly in Quickbase now. And if we look at the get products updated directly in Quickbase now, right? And then let's say I want beta opportunity to show. So, and I'll show you what beta opportunity is here in a second. So I click this, I click save. Now, if you look at my UI, here, BO, beta opportunities, doesn't show here. Now, upon refresh, it does. So I'm driving the behavior of this UI based off of what I'm filling out in Quickbase. And I still get the notification process, the reporting, the style of the form, whatever I want in Quickbase. But my end user gets to experience this, right? And then if you click this, subscribe to updates, for instance, this is writing the Quickbase. So I hit subscribe now and say, okay, right? And now if I go over here to my subscriptions table, there's a new entry for me. I think that's the one I put in. But yeah, there's a new subscription for me in there. So Rob, all this is, just to demystify this for everybody, is code page 15, right? So let's say, for instance, I wanted to make this, so I take this code page in the Quickbase release notes, 15, right here, 2F. So I take this code page, and as you can see, insecure code. So these are the kind of things that it sees Quickbase user tokens in here. You should not expose your user tokens within these code pages. And I would recommend talking to a large language model and asking how to be secure. They're more of an expert on this process than I am at this point. But if you take this code and you put it into a large language model, you could actually say, I want to update this, for instance, to whatever. I would just paste this in, for instance. Let's say I paste it in here and I'm like, please change mode to pink and pretty. I don't know, whatever. So now it's going to work on that code. And then all I do is I take that code and I'll paste it back in place of that code that was there. And that's my modification. So one of the challenges I feel like we're going to face is version control, from a code page perspective. So what I do is I'll copy the actual code page, and then I'll put the new code in the original code page. So I don't know if that makes sense or not, but I'll just go here. I'll go to app settings. I'll go to pages, and then I'll take number 15, which is wherever it may be, 15, and I'll copy it. And then once I've copied it, it'll say, I'll look for that 2F, wherever that may be. And now I have copy of new releases, right? So this is the old preserved code. So I'll keep this as is, but then I don't want to lose that page ID. So I'll take that 15, that code page 15, and replace it with the code that this gives me. That's a bold choice. Blah, 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 blah. So it softened the UI, blah, 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 blah. So you could just take the style and replace it with the style. That's what this is saying to do. But you could also say, I want the full code, and you just copy and paste it in. So I know we're close to out of time, Esther, but yeah, I showed you a lot, I'm afraid. Um,
No, it was great. I think people had lots of questions and kept you busy with questions, so that's really awesome. And I think it's just great to see how your mind works and digging in and using all these inside and outside tools together, and to see how powerful that is. And I love that, we've got some safety guardrails in place. And also you giving us tips on how to do it safely is important. So yeah, very mind-blowing stuff. I agree, Laura. So this is really great. I will have this, it is recorded. So if you want to get the recap tomorrow with all the stuff that Josh has, you can always go back and take a look, watch the video. And always, if you do want to connect with Josh and spend time, make sure to connect with your account team so they can schedule time with Josh. So that's the best way to take that next step if you want to
no,
take your conversation to the next level. Um,
yeah.
Anything
So
else?
yeah, not liking that, right? So you do have to iterate, but it's nice, right? You have a conversation with a large language model and see what you can create, you know? It's a new world a little bit.
Yeah, we're here.
Cool.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Josh. Thank you for hanging out with us. I know you got to go back to your client. Have a good one over there. And thank you everybody for joining us today. And we'll see you hopefully tomorrow at the Juiced Crew Meetup. Take care.
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
y'all.
Everyone, bye.
See y'all.
Gosh, thanks
Bye.
everybody.
Yeah, no worries. See it.